Welcome to Peer2Peer, the podcast, brought to you by Rayner. Listen in as we hear from top surgeons having great conversations with their peers about hot and popular topics in ophthalmology. In this episode, Mr. Alon Barsam discusses the important role that digital marketing and social media play in running a busy eye clinic with his colleagues from OCL Vision in the UK, Mr. Ali Mirza, Mr. Romesh Anganawala and Ms. Mazara Laganaf. Mr. Alon Barsam is a director and founding partner of OCL Vision and recognised internationally as an expert and key opinion leader for cataract and refractive surgery. Mr. Ali Mirza is a director and founding partner of OCL Vision and is also a senior consultant ophthalmic surgeon at London's Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust. Mr. Romesh Anganawala is an OCL Vision founding partner and consultant eye surgeon at Moorfields Eye Hospital, where he is also director for corneal training. Ms. Mazara Laganaf is a consultant eye surgeon specialising in cornea, cataract and refractive surgery and is the first OCL Vision trained fellow of refractive surgery.
Welcome to another Peer-to-Peer podcast hosted by Rayner. I'm your host, Alon Barsam. We spend ever-increasing amounts of our daily time online, working, shopping, banking and everything in between, as well as being connected to friends, family and colleagues, which can often be on digital means such as social media. It's therefore safe to say that digital marketing plays an important role in educating patients and helping them to decide who the right surgeon or the right clinic is for them. Today, I'm joined by several of my colleagues from OCL Vision. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks.
So I'll start with Ali Mirza. Could you talk to us a little bit about the offline and online channels that are used at OCL Vision for attracting new patients, their role in different stages of the patient journey, in terms of patient awareness, education, even consulting, decision-making and follow-up?
Sure, thanks, Alon. Yeah, a pleasure to be here on this podcast. So offline and online. So offline, I think it's safe to say that most of our patients are still generated by word of mouth. So that accounts for a large majority of our patients. So obviously you do a patient, they then tell all their friends, their family, etc. And that's probably that is the number one reason why people come to us predominantly. And then there's the social media channels. So you've got things like the Instagram, the TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. And I think that's more about brand reinforcement. So patients kind of become aware of OCL Vision either through friends or family, or they may have read something in the print, which is another one of our channels, publications, media stuff, and then they Google you, don't they? They Google you, they look at social media. Are these guys on socials? What's their website like? So then they get a bit more feel for us through those channels. And in general, if they get a good feeling, they see, okay, these guys are all, they seem like nice guys. They post all, their surgeons are humanized, they're real people. The website looks great. They've got someone telling them that they've had a great experience. That all adds to the whole sort of decision-making process, if you like. Kind of reinforces their view, and that's why it's all quite important. And that's why it's important to have many channels, because they can come from many different directions. Sometimes you think it's word of mouth, but actually it's word of mouth plus they saw something on Instagram.
Fantastic. No, I think that's a great point. And I think a lot of people do make the mistake of thinking about marketing in isolation. Often there are many touch points, if you like, of where patients may access information about us. And it's important to try and, for us anyway, to try and target as much of that as we can. Can I ask Mazara now, do you feel in terms of in life in general, and certainly with respect to how we recruit patients or how you find patients, whether the pandemic accelerated a shift to online or more digital means?
So I think generally, I think there's been a gradual shift over time anyway. I think Google is the place we go if we want to find out kind of day-to-day information. If we want to find out where's the best place to go, who do we want to see, we usually go to Google first. I think there's always going to be, as Ali mentioned earlier, word of mouth, and I think that's really powerful. And I think that's generally in healthcare what people tend to go with. People that their friends or family have recommended, people that they know have had a good experience. I think OCL does a really good job of creating a very clear and easy to navigate website. That's the first thing I noticed when I first Googled OCL Vision as a patient myself a couple of years ago. And everything's very transparent and very well laid out. And that's what patients have mentioned to me as being quite powerful when they go to our website, is the clarity of information that's provided, and the kind of transparency as well in terms of providing pricing and that kind of content. So I think the pandemic has definitely moved us in that direction, but I think that's the way that the world's been going for the last kind of 5 to 10 years anyway.
Thank you. Ramesh, can you talk to us a little bit about the particular demographic that you think might respond better to digital marketing, and maybe whether you notice or feel that there's a difference in terms of which channel of digital marketing may appeal to a given demographic?
I mean, there are definite differences in terms of which social media channels different people engage with. So the younger patients in their sort of early 20s are probably going to engage with TikTok and Instagram more than they would Facebook. And, you know, Instagram appeal still sort of goes on into, you know, your 30s and 40s, but then you've got some, you know, Facebook coming in, and even other sort of professional social media kind of channels like LinkedIn, you know, are useful to kind of engage with. And I think they all tie into each other. I've got to say, you know, the older patients tend to be more on Google or on Facebook than Instagram and those other channels. That's the feeling I generally get. But they're kind of, you know, they don't look at one thing. They look at Google, then they'll look at something else. They'll try and kind of collate information about the clinic before they actually come. And they might speak to some friend or some ex-patient, you know, who's had treatment done. So it's a kind of mix of things. It's not one thing that makes them come and see you.
Okay, fantastic. And can I ask Ali, can you talk a bit about the social media channels you personally use, what the difference is, and what you think the benefits of each one might be in terms of, let's say, patient information or marketing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was bit of a latecomer to social media. Just to give you a bit of background, I was a bit of a cynic, I have to say, and then I kind of sucked into it. But now I do enjoy it. Originally, I had a YouTube channel, and that's all I had. And what I did there was put on basically videos of surgery, interesting surgery, and it was quite good as an educational tool for like the fellows that would come to the firm, so they'd see how I do things. They get a flavor of what to expect in terms of the surgical methods. And then I got sort of sucked into Instagram and TikTok, and I think it's quite useful. It's just the what it is. Everyone's after content, and you know, often you can do a patient, you treat a patient. And it was only when like a couple of patients said to me, look, you know, have you got an Instagram page? Because I wanna tell everyone about it. You know, I've had my laser eye surgery. I'd like to tag you. You know, so you know, and that ultimately that is, they want to chat about it. It's content for them, and for us, it's free marketing. You know, it's really a no-brainer. So they tag myself, they tag OCL Vision. You know, they have that exposure even though their following may be small. And obviously varies, but you know, even if they have 300, 200 friends who see that on their stories, that's still 200, you know, points of engagement where, you know, the seed is planted. And it's okay, this guy looks like he's had a great experience. Let me look into it a little bit more. And then, you know, they then come to the website, or, you know, go look at all the other channels, and they say they get a flavor for the culture, the teamwork ethic, you know, the excellence we're providing. And it just gives us that platform to share what we're about, and also just a feel-good factor. And then with new surgeons coming on board, you know, Masara and colleagues gives them a platform. And I encourage all the surgeons to have a personal profile as well on Instagram. So it just allows their patients to tag them and give them some love, if you like. You know, it also unleashes your creative side a little bit. So I like some of the creative, funny stuff. I like to get that out there, and it just makes you feel a bit more, makes you look a little bit more like you're just a normal person having a bit of fun, enjoying the job. So yeah, I think it's great.
Ali, the one thing I wanted to ask you about was, sorry if you don't mind me asking a question, is what role do you think influencers play when you treat them, for example? Do you feel like that's,
I think that's,
you know,
huge.
that engagement then drives more patients to the clinic?
It's massive. I mean, we started off with just treating a few here and there, you know, and some of them have, you know, followers of 500,000, you know, so you get that kind of exposure, put on their reels, and they've got that, that many people looking at them, and it's free marketing. Most of the time these people just do it because they want to do it. They tag us all. Yes, we can pay Google to be on top of Google ads in a website search, but this is just another angle, and it's a bit more genuine because it's patient's own experience and they want to share it, and it's content for them. Influencers love content; they want to put stuff out.
The influencers definitely have an effect, because as soon as one of the kind of more popular influencers puts something on their reels, our people following us suddenly jumps up in one day by a lot. So they do listen, and it's surprising how many patients will come and say, look, the reason I came to see you is because I saw this specific influencer recommend you.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's the social media channels are a way of essentially creating dialogue in a way that amplifies that dialogue beyond what someone could achieve in a living room or in a restaurant with a table around their friends. Can I ask, Ramesh, perhaps if you could talk a little bit about your feelings on how important is it to have a personal social media account in various channels versus one for the clinic? How do those two things coexist, and how does that work?
Yeah, I think it is important for individual surgeons to have some online presence, but at the same time, it's important to have awareness of what that channel is specifically for. So important not to kind of confuse the messaging with, personal stuff as well as professional stuff. So, most of us have two channels, actually. One is, personal and private for your friends, and the other one is a public one. So it allows you to highlight patients you've treated or new innovations in real time. Say you put a Rayner EMV lens in, it's difficult to really tell that story on your website in a kind of non-contrived way, whereas you can tell it on social media with a reel in a kind of more real-time real way, and portray stories or new technologies and things like that in a more kind of engaging format, I think. I do think patients like to feel these days that their surgeons are human. So, they like to see a human side to their surgeons. So having your own personal, social media channel allows you to, in some ways, kind of at least engage with them in a more personal way than just having a website, where there's just a picture of you. Video is the format that people love, and a small 30-second clip of you talking to a patient or highlighting something, I think is more engaging than just the brand, because the brand is important, but there's lots of static websites and other stuff that just push the brand. They want to see who are these people who are behind the brand, and the people behind the brand are the surgeons.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly a difficult balance, isn't it, to have that I'm a real person, and I'm also your surgeon.
I think what's interesting is if you look at the ophthalmology doctors who have the largest following, or optometrists, they're the ones that tend to share more of their personal life, and that's because so much of social media is actually about lifestyle, not just about what they do as a day job, but like lifestyle, so fashion, where they go to holiday, where they go to eat, just so many things that make up the individual and the professional. So it almost becomes like a lifestyle brand as well as just a professional brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it just depends on what you're comfortable with sharing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Rayner have done an incredible job with digital marketing, their kind of peer-to-peer platform, if you like, with podcast, webinars, and video interviews. I know they've got a presence on LinkedIn and Instagram, as well as some other channels. And Ali mentioned, in fact, one of the earlier questions, that he had originally set up on YouTube with surgical videos as a way to kind of reach out to fellows or other colleagues. But Ali, can you talk a bit more about the value, let's say, or the use of social media actually elevating your professional profile in ophthalmology?
Yeah, I think it's very, very valuable. I mean, just the YouTube channel, for example, sharing surgical techniques. Often surgeons around the world are looking for ways of doing things better, or maybe in a different way. And by having our techniques there, it kind of just levels the field a little bit. Everyone can look. There's so much information there now. People can look and see. And I sometimes Google stuff myself. Think, okay, got this complex case tomorrow or the next day. Let me just see if there's any other ways of doing it. You know, I know how I would do it in my mind, but there's so much video content now that it's great. Not only that, but like you said, with Rainer, with their peer review stuff, you know, got podcasts, people talking about things. So, you know, on the way to work, you can just listen to a podcast in the morning, get a bit of insight about what people are up to, how they do things. And then there's all the business elements, learning. I mean, at the moment, I've been listening to Diary of a CEO, for example. I just listening to stuff on there. You know, you just get some pearls here and there. So no, I think it's incredibly powerful. It's a great resource.
Can I ask? I want to ask all of you just to chip in with maybe one or two tips, but tips for those wanting to include more digital marketing efforts in their practice, either for the clinic that they work in, or if, you know, as in our case, that they're partners in, or in terms of developing their own personal profile digitally. Do you have any tips?
I would say that the first thing is just to get started. Do it. Set up a profile, post a couple of pictures of some interesting cases, look to see what everyone else does. I mean, follow, you know, people that you're interested in, colleagues, ophthalmologists, if that's your field. Yeah, I mean, it can be daunting initially. I mean, for me, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to post? What's it going to look like? What are people going to say? You know, but ultimately you can delete stuff.
Yeah. I think you could start with, you know, if you're not sure what content to post, you can just think of the 10 most commonly asked questions that your patients ask you, and, you know, and try and sort of do a educational type social media kind of post just to get you going to start with. And then you know, you look at other people and what they're posting and become more creative as you go along. But that's a good place to start off. It's useful and it gives you some content that you're expert at that you can talk about.
If people are really interested in digital marketing seriously and they want to educate themselves, Google have a introduction to digital marketing course, which is completely free. I think it's something like 20 hours of e-learning if you're really keen. And that kind of explains Google's search engine, SEOs, how to optimize, how to build a website, how to link everything in so you get more search engine optimization. So that's a really good course if anybody wants to do it. And yeah, I think off the back of what you were saying, Ali, looking at what everyone else is doing, looking at the top people in your field and what they do, you know, what else?
I would say enjoy it as well. You can get creative.
Yeah, exactly.
You can use skills that you maybe didn't know you had and just apply them.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think things like looking at what's trending, like trending sounds, using those trending sounds, you're more likely to get more views and more follows as well. So it's just kind of learning and just learning it as you go along, basically.
Yeah,
just giving it a try.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those are great tips for people looking to start out. And I think that we will wrap this up now. It's been a fantastic educational and interesting discussion between all of us. I want to thank Masara Laganath and Ali Mirza and Ramesh Anganwala for your time. It's time out of your busy practices. I don't know how you manage the time to see so many patients and also do social media as well, but also to give other people the opportunity to get involved and put themselves and their practice and what they do for patients out there. So thank you very much for your time, all of you.
Thanks for inviting us, Alan.
Thank you. Thanks.
In the next episode of Peer2Peer, the podcast, Mr. Alon Barsom will be discussing the importance of surgical instruments, why they shouldn't be overlooked, and an exciting newcomer to ophthalmology that is shaking up the industry with its premium single-use and recyclable instruments. For more information about this episode's topic and to read the show notes, visit the Peer2Peer hub at rainer.com/peer-to-peer. This podcast is provided for general information purposes only. The presenter's views are their own. Rainer does not endorse off-label use. Users must refer to the product labelling and instructions for use for Rainer products in all cases. Not all Rainer products are available in all countries. The full disclaimer can be found in the show notes.